We start with a point. Hi everybody, and welcome back to the Imagining the 10th Dimension video blog. Rob Bryanton here, and today's entry is called Thinking Biggest. Now, some people watch my original animation, following the logical patterns as they repeat from one spatial dimension to the next, becoming more and more amazed at how much they're holding within their minds, but then think that I'm somehow copping out at the end when I say there's no place left to go at the 10th dimension. I've said this before, but it bears repeating. There's no reason for you to stop at the 10th dimension if you're not assigning any logical meaning to these dimensions. The point-line-plane postulate's logic says that you can use this approach to construct any number of spatial dimensions, not just 10. But when we follow my presentation, moving up from our tangible world of 3 spatial dimensions through the logical proposals that time is not a dimension but a direction, and the 5th dimension holds the probabilistic quantum waves for our particular version of the universe, and up through the dimensions beyond any possible physical expressions to the place where everything is just patterns of information, the new degree of freedom afforded by each additional spatial dimension eventually reaches a point where we're thinking about the biggest picture of all. For the people who follow the logic of my original presentation, this is often the moment where they feel like their minds have been blown wide open. Because even if it seems contradictory at first, what we're really talking about here is that the 10th dimension, the ultimate ensemble, the omniverse, the omega point, whatever word you choose to use, is a point of indeterminate size. It's the ground state of perfect symmetry that simultaneously contains the potential for all other possible states, but only the potential. It's indeterminate, which, people are startled to realize, means it's the same as the point that starts this whole presentation. My Twitter friend, Jeff Hall, who describes himself as an Alexander Technique teacher, existential philosopher, mathematician, spiritual person, and IT professional from the UK, recently pointed me towards a new BBC documentary called What Happened Before the Big Bang. It features leading-edge speculations from a number of well-known cosmologists, but Jeff knew I would be particularly interested in this quote from Professor Sir Roger Penrose. When people asked me what happened before the Big Bang, my normal answer would be to say, well, you know, the word before, what does that mean? That's just some temporal concept, and if the Big Bang was a singularity in space-time, then that means the very notion of time loses its meaning at this so-called event of the Big Bang. So it's meaningless to ask about before because there wasn't a before. That's the wrong kind of notion. And I would have gone along with this idea until I've had some different ideas more recently. The present picture of the universe is that it starts with a Big Bang and it ends with an indefinitely expanding, exponentially expanding universe, where in a remote future it cools off and there's not much left but photons. Now, what I'm saying is that in this remote future, the photons have no way of keeping time. They don't have any mass. You need mass to make a clock, and you have to have a clock to measure the scale of the universe. So the universe loses track of how big it is, and this very expanded universe becomes equivalent to a Big Bang of another one. So I'm saying that this, what we think of as our universe, is but one eon of a succession of eons, where this remotely expanding universe of each becomes the Big Bang of the next. So small and big become completely equivalent. Wow, isn't it amazing to see a leading-edge cosmologist saying he's come up with a new idea, and it turns out to be directly connected to what I've been promoting with my project? I'm going to end this blog entry with one of my 26 songs written for this project. This one was written in 2002, and it advances the same idea Sir Roger has now advanced, that really the Big Bang is an illusion, and that before and after the existence of our universe is completely equivalent. But before we get to that song, let's consider one more point. One might interpret Sir Roger's comments to be saying that all universes happen one after another, sequentially in time. I think the more correct interpretation of this idea lies in the secret of before the universe and after the universe being equivalent. So we are still, I believe, talking about universes which exist simultaneously, independent of each other, in the indeterminate place which is outside the system, as Gödel liked to say. Still, how can, as Sir Roger says, small and big become completely equivalent when they both represent a point of indeterminate size? Please remember this: indeterminate is not the same as undefined. Indeterminate means all answers are equally true, while undefined means no meaning can be assigned. If the 10th dimension and the 0 point we start from are both of indeterminate size, then they're equivalent. I have a text-only blog entry called 1 to the power of infinity that discusses this further. I'll put up a link here if you'd like to read that. Is it kind of a Zen thought to say that thinking biggest and thinking smallest are the same thing? Sure it is, but this project is about much more than science or spirituality by themselves, and that's the power of this way of visualizing the dimensions. Thank you to 10th Dimension fans from around the world who have embraced this project. Our next entry is called Just Geometry. I hope to see you then. Now, as promised, here's that song, The Unseen Eye, to finish. Enjoy the journey.
Everything has happened and will happen again. In the universe of all universes, gray and formless, do you choose a point to become the first when you can think of it as that this dark and shapeless void, unrealized potential in static and the noise. To in the universe of all universes, the unseen eye, open and collapse the wave, and we entered on in. Now we know it's the act of observation that gives the world its how and why. So the Big Bang is just an illusion. It's just the opening of the unseen eye. Now any single point that we choose for entry leads to a long chain from the very first yes or the very first no. All the laws of physics, all the rules of nature divide in an instant by the very first choice or the dice we throw. Though Einstein objected to imagining a God who gambles for creation, the thought was just too odd. But deep within us and every living creature, there's a connection to the shared consensus of the world we know. 'Cause we know it's the act of participation that gives the world its how and why. So the Big Bang is just an illusion. It's just the opening of the unseen eye, and the missing dark matter that binds the universe, the mysterious mass that science cannot find, is in the many worlds of possibility that are just around the corner in time. Now the universe of all universes, if the truth be known, is an awful bore, viewed as a whole. But just a tiny shard, viewed from any angle, reveals complexity. It reveals such beauty, reveals the soul. So does it make a difference how we got to what we see? If it's really just coincidence. It's still a wondrous thing. And we know it's the act of observation that gives the world its how and why. So the Big Bang is just an illusion. It's just the opening of the unseen eye. And the unseen eye is you and I. And the unseen eye is you and I. And the unseen eye